All right, welcome to the February 3rd meeting of the Bias and Hate Incident Reporting Work Group. I'm Paul Bohm, your chair, and let me first sort of call the roll. Go around the room. Sandeep here.
Agnes here. Debbie's here.
Dan here. Paul's here. We're all here. Great. We got a pretty full agenda with perhaps lots of twists and turns within our work plan, but let me open up with any public comments. Okay. We'll go on. And as you know, the way I conduct this meeting, I invite comments along the way. So these things will come up and I really value everybody's comments on here. Approval of the minutes, January 15th minutes. It's in your packet. Any edits, comments?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Excellent. So I wanted to so remember the phase one of our work was sort of the research part where we were going out and looking at various reporting protocols, reporting forms, and bringing in that information. A lot of that's in the shared drive right now. We'll be talking a lot about that for the next several meetings. Also, part of that quote unquote research was the series of briefings that we had, which we can still have more. And I want to discuss that whether you think we want to have more. But first thing I want to do is look at the work plan just to see where we are, and then we'll come back to the briefing. So in your packet is a copy of the work plan. So as a recap, phase one, we were gathering information, we were having the briefings. We started off focus groups. We have not discussed public forum. I have some question marks on that. I think we felt at some point we're going to need a public outreach, but when that point is and what we want to talk about, I think is still be determined. Is that the sense of everybody? We still probably need a public presentation forum, just let everybody know what we're doing.
I think so.
Yeah, I'd be definitely in favor. I know you brought up whether the right time is to gather more information or go back with something. And I think there's value in both. So if there is something we can pull off in the near future, that'd be awesome. Yes, but how different would that be from the focus groups though?
Well, I think it's one is the format because the focus groups are smaller, and they're much more, well, I don't know, they are probably more interactive. There's a series of questions and we're sitting in a circle or whatever, and we're having a discussion, and they're not really questions, but they're kind of like probes or whatever you want to call to kind of spur the discussion. I think a public forum is harder to do that. Like if you go back to the public forum that took place in the library a few months ago, it was sponsored by the League of Women Voters. There were a lot of people and there was a panel of presenters, but it was not like you could just like be talking back and forth to each other. One person, like if you wanted to talk, you raised your hand, maybe you got a chance to talk once, and so it was a very different format and a different way of getting information. But I do think there's value in that, especially if we have a proposal and we want to get feedback on the proposal and people hear about that. I think that might be a good time to do it. But
yeah, I think that's exactly the point. So up until this point is input. We're getting input from the public to form up what we're doing.
Yeah.
So at some point we're going to have a draft of what we're doing. We want to reach out to the public. This is what we've come up with and get additional feedback on that before we go final.
Yeah.
So I mean that's the idea. So I think we want to be further along on our design of what the quote unquote reporting system looks like. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we should talk about when to do that, but I think that would be sort of towards the end of our design of this. the timing on that, we'll have to see what makes sense. It's probably towards the end of the first quarter, I would think. We'll see what's hopeful about that. But so on the work plan, so we're into phase 2, which is really let's think about what a reporting system looks like. And we had a number of issues and questions that we need to go through, and you can see them here. We're going to talk about what's an incident, who reports, how to report, what are the barriers. We want to kind of understand that, there's a lot of thinking that, we're designing a form. The form is sort of a vehicle, but we have to kind of, before we do that, I think we have to address these questions. So I think we want to start to do that tonight, and then the next few meetings kind of hit these. And I may ask one or several of you to kind of prepare some thinking about these topics, so you can kind of present some ideas to kick off a discussion. So we'll talk about that, how to go through this, but or we could talk about each one of them as a group. But as you'll see today on the agenda, it's really what's an incident, defining an incident, and I've done some preparation for that, which is not in your packet, but it is distributed, and we'll have to add that to the packet online. So we do want to define the components of the system and let the same so I can answer all those questions. So I think we can start to do that tonight. And that agenda topic particularly is beginning discussions on what incidents are, what we define the categories. But before we do that, we've had all these briefings and focus groups, and I think it'd be worthwhile to kind of sit back and reflect on what we heard, especially the last one. DA Ryan's comments kind of kicked up a little bit of interest in town. Would you say that, Sandeep? In terms of what she said about reporting and
Yes, have you seen the bridges?
oh yeah, I've seen the bridges, and
I think it's important to draw the slight clarification that needs to be made.
yeah, tell me about that, because when DA Ryan finished the Q&A, she got up and left. I know you.
Yes, so
I was going to ask you some more questions for clarifications. I didn't want to go too deeply into sort of, is it really all the incidents from Concord? And
Yeah.
only 6 of them?
That's from the school committee or from our meeting?
from
Oh, yeah.
But I think we needed to at least a follow-up discussion on that here, and
Yes.
It'd be worth it.
yeah,
So
go ahead.
again, kudos to the bridge. They did some, I guess, some more questioning, which maybe we should have done. But again, it wasn't our place to necessarily dig deeper into it at that point. What DA Ryan mentioned, and again, I'm trying to connect to the network.
Yeah, we can.
Having no issues. So,
It took 5 tries. I finally did it.
So again, if I'm misremembering it, I'll apologize. It's on the bridge online version today. But what DA Ryan said was accurate, right? Over the last few months, the reports have come from Concord. There have been reports that the Concord PD have filed. It's not individual members of the public. I think that's an important clarification that need to be made. Because when Concord PD was here, they had mentioned it's part of the protocol to every time they get an incident, they report, I think it was 6 different places.
Yeah.
Right. So the DA's office is one of those. So on the one hand, I'm glad that process is working and they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
So these were reports that started with the police?
Yep. So that's
Okay.
Some
They
of
start-
them. Not all of them.
all of them is according to the bridge.
Oh, according to
all
the
of-
bridge,
But
okay,
that's not
but
what
according
she
to the
said.
meeting, that wasn't the case.
Right.
So
That's
that's
DA
the
Ryan said
clarification.
something different.
Okay.
Yep. So that's
Mhm.
clarification.
Okay.
But
This-
what did she say?
She said that they did not come from, she said that they were coming from,
Individuals.
right, exactly.
Families.
And that they weren't coming from the school, they were coming from
Well,
the community,
again,
Committed to her, to the,
to the DA's
DA's,
office,
right.
not the police. So 2 different entities.
so I don't think she's entirely wrong, right? Because the source is the person. It's not like the police department is coming up with these cases and going to report
Right,
it. So
Right,
Mhm.
if I go and report to Concord PD, they go and report or upward into that system. So it's working as designed.
multi-parts. They go to the police go to the.
So I don't think it's
Mhm.
it's accurate to say, or I don't think she misrepresented anything.
Oh, I
It
don't-
was true, right?
Mhm.
Incidents were coming from Concord, but Concord PD was reporting them, so
Mhm.
it's important to draw that clarification.
This is the article you're referring?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah, but wasn't also DA Ryan saying, and if I misheard, then we, you know, I'm sorry, but my understanding was that that DA Ryan was saying that those reports did not come from the school, however, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Yes, yeah,
Yep.
so if the reporting, let's say that, you know, the reporting was, you know, as you're saying, like it went from the police, so those are individuals in the community reporting to the police.
Yes.
And then the police reporting to the
That
DA's
is
office.
yet unclear.
we
Because-
don't know what was reported. We don't know.
And
the
again,
nature
I
of these
think it'd be
incidents.
important for us to kind of maybe find what that is. But the discussions that I think Lori's had with
Mhm.
the police department, everything that the school gets, they report to Concord PD, and they do get folded up into the DA's reporting system. So it would be inaccurate to say none of them originated at the schools or the school's reporting system.
So you're saying that that the
According-
DA was incorrect? in
I'm not saying
something, or- I guess I'm confused because I'm just going on what she said.
No, you're absolutely right. The schools did not directly report it
No,
to her system,
yeah, that
right?
was right.
That is what she said, and that is absolutely true. The schools report to the police department. The police department reported to the DA's office.
But are the schools supposed to be reporting it to her? That's what she
No.
was.
No,
No,
that's
the
right.
schools are supposed to report to the police department.
Oh, that's interesting, because there was I left, I thought she was implying, and maybe I'm
No,
wrong.
and listen, it would be great if that, you know, all right, so take a step back. The reports get all the way to the DA's office, that's great. That closing the loop part didn't happen, and which is why I'm glad we had that meeting, because it's out in the open. I know the superintendent has called the DA, they've had discussions, so I'm glad that loop is getting closed.
Well, my interest, and I hope our interest, I mean, there's, as a community, we'd like to know exactly what you were talking about, right? But from our perspective, the lack of clarity on reporting and, you know, this sort of web of reporting is confusing, and I don't want to enter that web through what we're doing and make it more confusing. I want us to help clarify this.
And I think that reinforces the need for this, right?
Yeah.
Because we'd love to know what's happening in our town instead
Right.
of saying, where else can we find what happened in our town, right? So.
Right, and I think what it really speaks to is, I think it's so important that we have some coordination between the town and the school, because, you know, it feels like they're kind of two totally different entities, and I understand the laws very, very well, you know, about what school districts do and all of that. I deal with that every day in my job, but I think it would really be helpful, to the extent possible, that we would have some coordination, and keeping in mind that we have to make sure the school stays in compliance with FERPA, which is the confidentiality rules, and any other state and federal confidentiality. So, you know, bearing in mind all of that, but having a coordinated effort and having something that's consistent would be really, really helpful. And in fact, like when I've been looking in the literature, and so I have to somehow put my information in the shared drive. I
Yeah.
need help with that. You know, one of the things that I've read about a lot is the need for consistent ways of reporting. And so I, for one, would love if we could have some coordinated effort and some way, at the same time, recognizing the confidentiality requirements and any other, you know, protection
And
requirements.
you're preaching to the choir here, right? That's exactly what.
Is it that people don't know? Is that there needs to be better education on why certain parts of the process aren't happening?
I don't think so. I think, you know, maybe this is not time to gloat, right? But we are ahead of many other communities where we're actually looking at this and trying to get or trying to address the problem, right? As clearly evidenced last meeting, we haven't solved it.
Right.
There is still a whole lot we have to do, but the fact that we have a school reporting system is a good start. It doesn't necessarily die into anything, else in town, so we don't have visibility into it. Would it be great to have that? Absolutely. Would it be great to have visibility into what the DA's office is collecting about Concord? Absolutely. The governor's office, the Human Rights Commission, all of it. We'd love to see all that information about what's happening in town. And that's what we're trying to.
Yeah, I mean, the fact
Yep.
that the school has a system well established is fine. We're gonna leave that there for the moment. We're gonna develop something for the town.
Right.
And then we or somebody, select board town manager, is gonna approach the schools and say how, can we put this together? Here's what because they're different. I've looked at the school's protocols, I've looked at their forms. I think we need more information on reporting than what's in the school form. We can talk about that. So I think, I want to design something that's optimal for the town.
Mhm.
And
Which
if
includes
the
school.
town can include the schools
Right.
at some point, that's great.
Yeah, that's
It-
my point is that.
If because of
each
the law and
building-
confidentiality, it has to be separate, then it has to be separate, but can some part of that information from the schools be migrated to our system, so at least anonymously we can count what's going on?
Mhm. And I think that's not inconsistent with what I'm saying. I'm just
Yeah.
urging as much as legally possible,
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
ultimate
I think
result.
coordination with the schools and with the police department, our system has to work well.
Yeah.
Right now, the confusion that just came out of the last meeting just shows there's confusion, and maybe the system's working well, maybe it isn't,
Mhm.
but still, 6 reports. And they all came from Concord.
Yeah.
I said 8, right? Is what I
Yes,
said?
yeah,
So
that's
it's
what I'm
actually 8
saying.
is what the bridge.
8 reports, and they all came from
But
Concord.
the bridge is probably
You
inflated.
let's
It was 6.
let's put that aside, whether it's
Yeah.
accurate or inaccurate, whether she spoke well or misspoke. It's done. It's done.
It speaks to two things. One, okay, like my initial reaction was, oh boy, we're in trouble. I mean, we're the only one. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not good. And then when I was talking about it with other people, there was a different side, which I see, which is, okay, but we're ahead of the game for reporting it. So it's like you can't,
At least we have to have evidence that we're actually.
No, it wasn't that case. I think it was about these individuals didn't have probably trust in reporting their incidents to the school and decided to report to the DA's office, or they weren't heard. I think according to her, she felt like
Mhm.
they either didn't have trust or they were not heard. And so they decided to report
to the
to
police,
the,
to the police, right?
to the Middlesex, yes,
Right, so that's.
To the
that's-
police. And then
to
the
the
police
police
would-
and then, yeah.
And okay, so I'll caution
Mhm.
on going too much down that speculative path,
Mhm.
because we don't know. if
Yeah.
This is individuals who report
I
to the.
really
the
think we
police
need to
department.
leave that.
Okay,
Information behind. I was minding my own business at 4:30 in the morning in Maui, and the phone rings, and I said,
Not where we thought we were gonna
why didn't I
start.
put that on? And it was Dakota.
He's the
And
hardest
Dakota's
working man in
asking-
Concord, right? Hardest working man in Concord.
Yeah, and Dakota asked me about this, and so I was quoted in there about, I think he asked, do you think that there's more reporting in Concord, there's more incidents in Concord? And I said, well, as a scientist, is it, I don't know if there's more reporting or more incidents, it's data, and I don't know. And maybe there's more reporting, and ultimately, I'd like to be, more reporting, so we solve the underreporting, what other towns are doing on a relative basis, we're not gonna solve that, so comparing Concord to other communities right now is kind of fraught with data misinterpretation, I think. So I don't know, it's, okay, couple of
So-
hands, any comments on this? I want to move past this thing.
Yes, this is to move past it, but to connect to it.
Yeah.
The focus groups. Could we possibly have a separate focus group for young people who are in the town? So we can hear what the kids have to say.
Absolutely. I don't think we were ignoring them here, but we weren't specifically reaching out to them.
So since you raised your hand, I'm gonna move the conversation further along. I think what you mentioned at every meeting is my biggest kind of takeaway from our information gathering, that if you don't act on it, if there's no follow through,
Mhm.
you lose trust in the system, and then it's not something that people are gonna keep using. So that's
Yeah.
gonna be my.
Well, we should talk about the focus groups, the value of them, and I agree, if we want to continue them, seems like we're getting a few more people. It was 3 and now it's 7, and maybe we'll get up to double digits, we do it. But I think they're very,
Not
the one I saw was very valuable, but, so other than DA Ryan's, statements and the other briefings we've had, we haven't had time to really talk about them. They range from just information to cautionary tales from in terms of what, town council tells us about public records and anonymity. I think any reflections on, I mean, it's all useful, but, any specific reflection on anything?
A reflection that I have is usability of data and most incident reporting systems require name of the person reporting, as well as the person you're reporting about, if you know. And when it comes to some communities or some individuals, they might most likely not report something if I have to give my name, because of various reasons. I would say immigration for now, because it's a national topic. I mean, if I experienced bias and hatred, and I for sure know, and they're asking me for my name, I'm more likely not going to continue with reporting. And when I was looking around, and I think most forms that are electronic based require that. If you're writing a letter to the world, then you can stay anonymous, but most documents that are electronically, they force you to fill out a name until.
You raise a good point, and we can talk about that topic. The topic that you're talking about is the mechanisms of reporting.
Or report, and then.
Because if we want to protect anonymity, we can have there could be 5 different ways of reporting incidents. It doesn't just have to be a form, but that's one of our topics to talk about. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, and as well as the referral. So what if, when you encounter something that is actually criminal, what are we going to do that with the information? If you promise that the person is going to, anonymity is going to be held and confidential, it is going to be held, and then it rolls out to be a criminal offense, what are you going to do with that?
The other thing, I just want to kind of piggyback on what you said, because I've looked at a lot of towns and cities, and the only one so far I've found that doesn't require anonymity is the city of Boston. That's not to say there aren't other ones as well.
They don't require anonymity, or?
No, you can, I'm sorry, you can be anonymous.
Oh, you can be
Misspoke, yes, you're right. So every form I've seen reflects what you just said, which is they force you to put, there's no way to be anonymous except the city of Boston. Phone calls seem to be an option in every one of them, but what they say is, you can call us to get advice before you submit a report. So the phone call, from what I can tell, isn't the same thing. It's more to get advice. That can be confidential. But then you go ahead and do the form, which makes you put your name.
Yeah.
And I think my reflection on town council was that they're basically saying all of this is discoverable,
Yep.
Freedom of Information Act. And
even the DA mentioned that, right? Like we can find out, right?
right. So I think we have to be, so it runs into the issue you just brought up, and I know you brought, and we've all brought up about trust. And that's the balance here. But if we're not allowed to legally do it, we have to be very honest about that.
And that's one of in the literature that you see over and over again is one of the big barriers to reporting is, for some people that they do want to have it remain confidential. And I'm not a tech person, but I think that even if you emailed it and you just put your email, they're gonna find it like in the metadata or whatever. And so it seems like what we would need, also because of inequities, because not everybody has access to internet, and also the very real fear around the ICE stuff. It seems like we need multifaceted, whatever system it is, it's a multifaceted system where you can either talk to a person, call, or you could email, or you can send a letter, whatever you want to,
That's exactly my point. And I think that this discussion around the multifaceted system is really important. And I wasn't planning on having that today. I want to have a whole session on that. And related to the anonymity, I'm not convinced we can't. I'm not. Much a double negative. I'm not convinced we can't respect anonymity, not in the form, but if we invite people to call in, we have to understand who they are. Okay, but that information doesn't have to be recorded. Okay, so it has to be verified. We have to know this is a real report, and if person's a Concord resident, we have to decide if that's important or not. And then we have to get the information that we can enter into a form and gather that. If that person wants to remain anonymous, for our purposes, maybe I'm legally naive in here, I'm not sure we can't do that.
I thought our
We-
town council said it's gonna be,
We could do it.
no, that confidentiality is gonna be
Yeah, that's what I
a
thought.
bridge too far.
So tell me about that. Somebody, you call me up.
Yeah.
And I say,
So
okay, I'm not recording this. I'm not gonna put it on the form, but I wanna know, who are you? And just to verify who you are,
But
okay?
you have the call ID too.
Right, so Paul, I think the.
I'm not recording anything. I'm taking a phone call.
But if I'm Agnes Lubega and I call, and if my phone number will show up and my name on
That's
most.
fine. I know who you are.
Yeah,
Okay.
but if you don't know me, still, you get the name and my phone number attached to my
I
phone,
get
so
it.
I'm no longer anonymous.
I get it,
Yeah.
but I don't have to do anything with it.
So,
I
so
don't
that-
have to put it on recording.
I think that's where you might have to, if
Yeah.
what you reported
Mm.
crosses some threshold, then you have an obligation to report with that
Of
information.
course, threshold in terms of the nature of the incident.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good point. If that has to be reported to the police, then I say, well, you have to report to the police, but we're talking. I want to talk about the incidents,
Mhm.
they can range from insults to, they could range up lots of things that are not reported. I'd like 90% of the things that we record are not reported to the police.
Right.
There are instances that have to be reported, because the criminal, we can't make that decision. But there are other, I was walking down the street and somebody called me a name,
Yeah, yeah. So
okay?
the issue is you have promised me to be anonymous.
Yes,
Then it ends up to be a criminal case. You as the taker have a right to remember, go back to the call log and see it's Agnes who called you at this number. And you promised Agnes that her information is going to be anonymous. That's where the issue is now.
no, that's a good point, and I think you'd have to go back to town council and ask the
Yes.
question, under what circumstances can we protect anonymity?
Or
Yeah.
maybe
The
the.
nature of the incident, the type of reporting, the intake
Yeah,
mechanism.
But well, I can give you a little
You're
bit
an
of
attorney.
advice, but what I will say is that there are other reasons why something wouldn't be kept confidential beyond whether it was so there's a crime. And then there's the question of who is or isn't a mandatory reporter.
Mhm.
And it depends also on the victim. Is it a vulnerable adult? So does that then bring in whatever they are, the Adult Protective Services
Mm.
here, or DCF for a
Children.
child? So there's all those considerations, but then there are, it's just like civil litigation. So, or somebody does a public records request and, they want to know. And so there's a certain exemptions for that, of course, but then there's discovery in civil litigation. So I think probably maybe another visit back with the town council to go over all of these categories so that whatever advisement we're giving somebody when they're making a complaint, how can they do it? Now, it's interesting that Boston does it. Maybe we should
I'm gonna call them.
up with Boston.
I'm gonna call the
and
city of
find out,
Boston.
Like how they're doing it.
Maybe they have some disclaimer about good faith, will
Yeah.
maintain confidentiality. I don't know.
That's what I will.
Not a lawyer.
I'd like to propose that we proceed with the assumption that we can predict anonymity.
We can.
We can. But we may not be able to, but I mean, I don't want that to get in the way of what we're doing here by worrying about
Mm.
So you're saying,
designing
you're
this.
saying don't rule it out just yet.
What?
Don't rule out
Yeah,
anonymity just yet. Leave that as an.
yeah, don't rule it out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's another way of saying it. So, but hold that thought, because we are gonna, it's an important one. And I think somehow we can get over that hurdle. I think we will see more honest reporting in town. We will solve the underreporting problem. We'll really get to the heart of what's going on in town. But a hypothesis on top of a proposal. What is that called? It's like a taco wrapped in a piece. Anyway, okay, any other thoughts on the briefings? Obviously, we have to return to the legal side.
I guess, it seems like, it was really interesting to hear about Court Booth's group and what they do, and I'd love to, I really, I had heard of the group, but really didn't understand like all the stuff that they were doing, and so I'd like to explore further, is there a way to include them in the process? Which also then raises an issue of, like, we haven't really talked about this, but just sort of like money, to the fiscal impact, and maybe that's too soon for that, and maybe that's like a
Fiscal
dangerous
impact
thing
on.
of having the reporting system,
Oh, okay,
given what, like, we're here, what the literature says, what people are saying, like they want, for example, that some people want to talk to a person, so who's going to do that? And then, there's also people who say, well, they want like resources, and who's going to do that, and how will we operationalize this? Like, will we do that with existing town resources? Maybe we will. Or is this, Court Booth's group is offering to do some things, but there's going to be money involved in any event. So maybe I'm not articulating very well.
no,
but I
no,
feel
you
like
are,
we
but
need
I tell you not to worry about anonymity. Right now, I'm gonna tell you not
to worry
not to worry
about
about
money.
the finances, not the.
That'd be a great thing
not-
in general. Don't worry about money.
Well, how should I put it? I think if there's a meaningful need for budget for something. Let's carry on to Carrie. No, it carries. I'm
Payroll
not
funding.
gonna say Carrie's gonna find it. I'm gonna say we're gonna ask Carrie to find. Hi, Carrie.
She's gone.
Hi.
I told people not to worry about budgets right now. Is that good advice?
Sure, it's good advice, but I wouldn't want to leave anybody with the impression that we have included any significant funding in the upcoming budget for anything. Doesn't mean we can't work toward that end, but there really isn't anything set aside at this point.
Well, because we haven't proposed anything and,
I get it.
So, we may be in the next budget cycle in a better position to articulate that, but. So my advice is just let's not assume that it's impossible.
Okay. Good.
So
Again,
just assume the possible.
Paul's leaving open the possibilities. Let's consider that we can have anonymous reporting.
I'm leaving open the possibility that on behalf of the town manager, and I don't, speak for myself, I'm never speaking for the whole select board here. It's just for me as chair of this group.
I think that's the right way to approach it. Let's not
Okay.
start constraining ourselves. The
Yeah.
one thing I think that, again, this came up earlier on, what resonates with me was that Concord PD does reporting to many different systems, right? I think anything we build has to have, I guess, full-throated buy-in from Concord PD to make sure that we're not gonna cause more problems and more work for them, and it is gonna help I guess clarify some things instead of causing more confusion, because going back to the trust, if that is unclear and we start causing confusion, I think it's gonna hurt the people adopting the system or using it.
Yeah, and there has to be close coordination, and you're right, because you can imagine somebody wants to report.
Yeah.
Either you're gonna call up the Concord PD, and the Concord PD, they say this isn't something, of course, they're gonna refer it to the town, or somebody's gonna call us up
I call them
and say, then we gotta tell them to refer to the police department. I think this is ultimately has to work like that.
And people will also not want to keep repeating their stories over and over again. There's a real reluctance of victims
Yeah.
to allow it.
Michael.
Michael.
This memory serves, the Officer Landers and Gia Ryan both confirmed that at least the systems they use is the same reporting mechanism. So what gets the DA is our reporting mechanism, our police department's reporting mechanism is the same too. That's what I thought
So the police department, if we could go back and look at it, they reported 6 different things.
understood, but
This was
tool
one
that
of
they
them.
use, the tool that they use, the document that that Dia Ryan shared with us is the same formatted documents that the police department uses.
Yeah.
So,
We'll talk about the forms in a minute.
just in terms of
Yeah.
the.
The ease, right?
That's a common system.
The
That was in
consistency,
the-
right?
That's it, that I got from that meeting, that system is common. The different system is the system of school has been for its reasons, but what our police department and Middlesex County use is the same tool, reporting tool. That's one.
Yes, and there's a central like state.
Yep.
Portal where everything is dumped. When I was looking at the data, like in 2003, 23, Concord had 1, but then it spiked to 5 in 2024. And then from the DA's office, it's further jumped to 6 or
Eight, I think.
eight. So we can see Concord is like increasing, but all different agencies, states, towns, police departments report to this, and they collect and they have a pool where they develop a hate crimes task force annual report.
That at the state level.
At the state, yeah, and those are congregated. So the latest in the system is 2024. They haven't aggregated 2025 yet. So if we were to have our own system, we would also do a data dump to them. Annually, I don't know, they have calendar times when you have to report back.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of all the numbers that have been reported in the past. I still maintain that there's just significant nobody knows what really is happening in this town. We probably know more what's happening in the schools because there's more mature system. But the town-wide is, it's anybody's guess in terms of numbers right now, because some things get reported, some people do, some people don't, there's no system, so. That's why we're here. I want to pivot a little bit to something that is related to the work plan, but it's also related a little bit to what Carlos was talking about. So, I think we all agree that the reporting system is part of a larger system, and I've talked about, I think the last meeting, I said, I use the term life cycle of an incident. So I said, well, put that on paper and see if anybody thinks that makes sense. And so that's what this thing is. And believe me, this is put together rather hastily, but I just want to go through this so that because this defines how and who may be using the information and what happens with the information. So starting at the top, the harm doer, right? Starts with a harm doer. Do you guys have copies of this? So it starts with not the incident, but before that, the harm doer deciding to, right? Okay, and then there's the incident. We'll talk about what that is. The incident is then reported, either the victim or a bystander, somebody reports it in. So I put a little star next to that because that relates to what we're doing here. Okay. Hopefully the next thing that happens is there's some response and support for the victim, right? That we're not just data away. There has to be some support for that. And we would probably ask, do you want support? Do you want to hear from somebody? So there's response and support. That's not what our group is doing. But that when there's an incident, somebody needs to respond. And whether it's one of our groups and town committees, the town human resources to be determined later, okay? And of course, the data then is captured. But I want to make sure that that the response to the victim is almost more important than capturing the data. That's why it's before that, but we captured the data and then there's the incident analysis, right? That's the data we capture, and we'll talk about what the nature of that is. We want to capture as much about that incident, where it occurred, the nature of the incident, what type of incident. And then at some point, we're going to analyze those trends, right? We take the data. So what do we do with that data analysis? I think that has to go to town management for a greater response, not a response to an incident, but response to a series of incidents. It has to be a periodic response. Part of that response then is to enlist community action, because I don't think that the town management, for me, isn't they're not the implementers of action. The implementers are Human Rights Commission, the DI Commission, Concord Against Anti-Semitism, the community groups as a whole are in concert. That's these community action and community education. And only then can we reduce the number of harms happening. So this is kind of an ideal cycle, but so we have a role to play in there, but there's way more involved in here and way more people involved. And this is a bit addressing Carlos Hoyt's slight criticism on our focus on just the stars. What are you focusing on? Aren't there more things to do? Well, of course, there are more things to do, but we are not here addressing every one of this, but I think we have to be mindful of all these. So there's probably things missing or misstated, but generally, do you get the idea? Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I call it the incident life cycle, and it's incidents plural life cycle. Something has to happen with the data. Something has to happen with each incident. Something has to happen with the aggregate of data. To make this useful to the community, I have to do something with the information.
I think the other piece, maybe it's part of this, is the reporting out to the public.
Yeah, it's sort of the data analysis and trends. It's so, yeah, it's sort of that, right. That probably is worth another.
Yeah, I agree, because I think once that's done, it would seem that a report should come out to the public. I mean, the town should respond, but the public is part of the
Yeah,
transparency.
that's that arrow there. So there has to be a reporting out and a town response to that report, Whether it's annual, but timing is not part of this. Naomi,
Yeah, this is just something I'm thinking about.
yeah,
Maybe the goal is not just to reduce harm doer actions, but somebody does something. If you feel you're alone with it, it's much more harmful than if you feel there's support for you. There is somebody to tell about. There is somebody who's going to say, I'm sorry this happened to you. I can't fix it. I can't stop that person from opening his mouth inappropriately, but I can be here, and the town can be here, and the Human Rights Council can be here, and whoever the group is that we end up saying is the intervener, that it's not just to stop the harm doer.
no,
It's to
absolutely.
change the
That's why that's kind of down here.
Fair
This is down after the incident. The very first thing that happens after the incident
is the
is that
response.
there's a response and support for the victim. What that means. Haven't defined that here, but I think that's what you're saying. So that happens, but so the net effect in the ideal world is that we reduce the number of incidents through education, and so reduce the number of harm doers. I don't, maybe that's the wrong starting point, but I just wanted to close the loop here.
Mhm.
And we might, which is not a bad thing though. As people gain trust in the reporting system, we might see an increase in reporting, which shows that people are comfortable reporting, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Other than people being on the ground and grumbling and venting, but here they know that there's a portal where they can report. So we might for a while see an increase because they've probably learned about the system and they've gained trust that it works. Because these things in the life cycle are happening. And
I expect, I'm not gonna use the word hope, I expected that would happen.
yes,
And I hope that we make it easier for people to report, and that the incidents that are happening, the ones that are brushed under the rug right now, and I'm sure there are lots of them, intentionally or unintentionally, you see more of those.
Yeah, and thus people are not spending time coming to other community meetings, venting, using those spaces as venting spaces and distracting from the agenda, the set agenda, because they have this system working for that purpose. But because we don't have that in place, you find that the bleeding goes through in community meetings, because that's where they can get maybe Dr. Laurie Hunter or the town manager or this.
What's not on here is the coordination we talked about, sort of how this relates to the police or how this relates to the town or how this relates to DA Ryan's. Those are all, you know, there's a larger circle there, how these pieces.
So those would be branches out, referral.
Yeah, it's, you know,
A referral mechanism that if you get after this, I think, like, where do you refer this information to the DA office or to the police?
this is
Depends
the,
on the nature
this
of
is
what it
the,
is, right?
this is the bachelor's version. We need a master's and a PhD. Okay, which has everything in it. I just wanted to kind of define, you know, because I mentioned this life cycle. This is what was in my mind here. How these pieces branch out and coordinate and become maybe part of a larger system, which is what you were talking about, you know, a system where we, you know, which is transparent. It's not, you know.
I love that you have response and support for the victim before data analysis and all that, because, you know, when you're a victim, doesn't matter how many times it's happened, that's.
Yeah, I don't want us to focus, we're not the,
Right, so,
we may not be data nerds, but we have to realize that the most important thing is that
so
responding to the
I
victim.
do like that you have that before.
And you need a position for that.
Yeah, somebody has to do that.
Based on, again,
Yeah.
what I was the early research that I've done, it tends to fall to human rights commissions of various towns. That's been the most common.
And, you know, that's not for us to decide right now.
Right.
Human Rights Commission, DI Commission, social worker in town. I don't know. Okay, good. Keep thinking about it, so that's, because I've heard many times that I want to make sure that people don't think that what we're doing here is insular and just focused on a data system or a spreadsheet.
The one thing, and yeah, I probably captured somewhere in here, the response and support that you offer to the victim, do we intend to capture that also? And the reason I ask is, I would have more trust in the system if I know others who've used it have gotten something positive out of it.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to be exact, but, you know, say that some level of engagement with them.
Yeah, you can't, not going into detail,
Right.
but making sure people know that happened.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a checkbox, that, you know, just thinking that somebody would want to know, what does a checkbox mean? Actually,
Yeah.
who did that? You know, the public records part of this thing. Yeah, I think it'd be
Just something to
important.
ponder, that's all.
Well, you know, if you look at some of these forms, it asks for, do you want to talk to somebody? And it's a checkbox. You check it on, you know, the form submitted and then somebody calls you up.
Presumably, hopefully.
Hmm?
Presumably, that's what happens.
Yeah.
It does say, do you want us to call? I haven't seen any guarantees that they will. Doesn't mean they don't.
Yeah.
But it just gives the complainant the option to request that.
Right.
And maybe that's, you know, hate to make it sound like something that we're gonna advertise, but, you know, X number of hours spent talking to people. Something. Or offering support. Anyway, it's not.
Yeah. Okay, Michael.
I guess just the person that will tell you the system is working is the person that's following the report. They, by their satisfaction,
In many cases.
by their satisfaction, as I was just saying, you may get more reports, but the measure of whether the effort is satisfactory is not whether they get a call back as much as whether they feel the need that if they got a call back, but the need that forced them to report isn't resolved. Or they don't, what's going to make the reporter feel better, what's going to engender trust is that the person that makes the report gets the call back or gets a response of some sort, and that response sort of meets their need. That's the measure where if I are you satisfied with the outcome of this? Is not so much that did you get the call back? Are you satisfied with the outcomes? Is the measure of success is.
As the callback itself may be unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
Might
Well,
not.
But to the point that, somebody requested response and they got a response. And I think that'd be good to capture
If
that,
we could capture it.
because I think in building trust at a macro level, in a report, in an annual report of this, we'd want to know of these incidents, X number did engender a
Yeah,
response.
I mean, I think
And
that's,
so the community would know, yeah, there was response there could be individual testimonials to that, voluntary, but I think the fact that it got a response.
But
I think you could have a metric. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
And just there was getting the response is nice, but if the reason why I reached out to you is not resolved, or I'm not finding the satisfaction there, the fact that you got a response doesn't matter because the problem that I reached out to you for is still happening. That's the
Yeah.
measure.
Yeah,
We
you
haven't
could
discussed
have
any
multiple
metrics.
Metrics that you could measure, did someone call back? Was it even timely?
Yeah.
Those are two things, but
We can't,
But-
but
but
did we
you-
solve the problem?
But you could also have but you could have a satisfaction survey that asked people at the end of the process, and that could be included to get at Michael's point. So I think you could have you could have what you're talking about, but you could also have that, and then you would have 3 different metrics there.
I don't think we've just scratched the surface on what all metrics we need to
Yeah,
capture, because
but-
there's probably a lot
Yeah,
more.
but just to,
Yep.
make that, to include that, I think is important.
We can come back to this. Let me move to the number 6, which is one of the things we need to talk about. And we already talked that an important thing is how to report and the various mechanisms of reporting. That would be a prominent agenda topic for our next meeting. I thought we might discuss this something a little bit more, maybe easy, tractable, and that's what's an incident. And what I did in the package here, I went into our SharePoint and I just pulled out some examples. And so there are 3 parts of an incident. And not all forms have this. So where the incident occurred, this example here from the DI form. Where the incident occurred in town, that occurred in education, employment, housing. So the nature of that is where. The second thing was I'll call the basis of an incident, which is I think what some of the colleges. And the example here is from Boston College, which is very similar to others, and nothing surprised me about it. But the nature of the bias is of various categories. You can see them here: race, color, religion, sex, national origin, ethnicity. I think this is important. The very basis of the incident. It doesn't describe the type of incident, but it's the basis. And then there's a type of incident, which is captured not on the Middlesex DA's does not have this. Middlesex DA has a drop-down menu for the basis, but it doesn't have the nature of the incident: physical assault, verbal, written, vandalism, which I think is very important. We have to, because some of these will go directly to the Concord Police Department. So I think I want to think about all of these to see what in a reporting system or a form or how we capture the information, what the nature of the data that we need. So these are just some examples. Middlesex County form was on the back page, one without the drop-down menu, and they have a nice drop-down menu, but the only drop-down menu they have there is really the basis, which is ethnicity, gender, et cetera, et cetera. And then describing the incident is, there's not a lot of description of the incident. Some forms have a written description, you know, describe the incident.
Right.
We can include that, but it just makes it more difficult for somebody, you know. I'd like to make it easy. Simplicity in reporting is important. If we have somebody sort of starting to write, we should make it optional.
I think you definitely want that, though. I think.
Yeah.
it would be
You definitely want, I'm not saying exclude.
No, no, right, but I mean, that's where they can really essentially get out and get the details, and if they don't want to do that, that's their choice, but I think that's so much more data. Yeah, does your form also, because I've noticed with a lot of towns and cities, they'll say, where did it happen? Was it in a public establishment?
Yeah, that's the where.
That's the where.
I didn't find, I didn't look at every piece that was in there, nor do they look at every town. But the where, which comes from the DI piece, which has, it wasn't specifically the address, but it was education, employment,
Right,
housing,
right.
law enforcement, meaning, you know,
Oh.
a stop, a traffic stop or something like that, or there are lots of
So
public accommodations, et cetera. So-
to draw the boundaries, this is only incidents that happen within the town. Not if, like, Dan and I went on a trip and I said something rude to him.
Yeah. I think we're talking about, is it, yes, is it with it,
Town.
are these town incidents, if it
Yeah.
happens in?
Town.
Oh, yeah,
Only
as
with-
opposed to, I mean, if I go to
Let's say.
Hawaii.
Town residents.
Yeah,
if we run into each other on a beach in Hawaii,
and I
and say,
something.
oh,
That lives in Concord.
yeah, I think that would be out of our purview.
Yeah. It's our
If I
jurisdiction.
said, what, Jewish guys can't surf, we know that.
Yeah, right, that would, yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, I think, just Concord,
Just
Yeah.
Concord.
that's what I would say.
I might, again, this is probably something school's capturing if there is, you know, something official from the town or a school that goes somewhere and something happens.
Say more about that.
I mean, like if they're on a field
Like,
trip or something.
Oh,
Like a game, if they, Concord had a game with Lexington and there was hate and bias for Florida.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. it's
So
different.
where would you report that to Lexington? Or-
it's a question.
And that's the school systems?
Let's say we go to Fenway
Okay,
to watch the the Patriots play Lexington.
and there are Concord kids shouting.
Yeah, just doesn't have to be kids. It could be us as fans.
No, I think it
Sitting
has
in
to
the
be
stand.
within the jurisdiction of the town.
Right.
For that
It's
to
the
be.
town.
I'm just
and-
asking questions.
yeah, no, it's a
I
good
don't-
point.
Does that have to be outside the jurisdiction of the schools?
It would seem to me, you know, that and you can ask the school's lawyer, but I mean, I think that the school has some response, like if the children
Yes,
are doing
yes.
things and
Yes.
they're on a school event,
Yeah,
then
which is why I'm saying.
Doesn't matter
this
where
is-
they
this
are.
is Adults.
Yes.
But the cases where an adult is aware of an incident that happened in schools and the kid hasn't reported it in the school, the adult would report it not through the school, but through the town system. The adult, the parent would go back and, would the parent go back into the
They
school
might.
system?
So.
It doesn't have to.
they
The
might,
school
or
system,
they
yeah.
might, it depends, but they might do both.
Yeah,
I think,
if people are at the moment having trouble with how the school system is working, it's important that people feel the town is providing a place.
Yeah, I want to be used
I don't
to
know.
the school, you know,
That's an if, right? That's, yeah, okay.
So that's an important interface to kind of work out
Yes.
at the right time with school. I want to make sure these incidents are reported, and if people don't feel comfortable reporting it through the schools. Or if it's a school, you know, if it's a school kid, it happens, incident on the school bus, is that a school?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it is,
If-
it is.
What's the jurisdiction?
Listen,
It-
again,
It is,
if I-
as long as it's there.
Okay, yeah,
Until they come back, it's school district.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
okay.
Yes, it is.
yeah,
It is, so.
He gets off at the bus stop, is walking with a bunch of. kids.
Yes, it is.
No, that's not a,
No.
he's in his community,
Get
he's
off the bus
walking
stop.
back.
When they off the bus stop and then it becomes a community
Yeah.
program. Yeah. But
It's
Well,
a trick,
listen,
it's a tricky
You can
interface.
say it's a community problem, but those kids are still going back to the schools.
oh
So
yeah.
it's not,
Mhm.
there's no, it's limited to the towns that doesn't go back into the school, so.
If it happens to a school kid in the town, though, it's not a school incident.
I still think the school should know. That's.
Oh, no, the school should know.
Yeah.
But
You're
it
saying,
would be-
where do you report it?
Yeah, if the two school kids in town center are harassing each other, it's the town incident. I'm not competing with.
No,
I want to put the back,
Private, yeah.
what? Oh, yeah, it could be both.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And I don't know that.
As long as if it's reported through the school system,
Yeah,
it's, you know,
and
it
there's,
doesn't disappear.
yeah, and there's laws, like, I mean, again, we'll have to go back and like, will be laws around what has to be reported within the school system, and then also like there's bullying laws, and so those will have to come into play and sort of, there's like the social media stuff, there's a whole bunch of things that.
Yeah.
Would it be worthwhile having someone from the schools, the DIB director, or to come and talk about how their system works?
It would be worthwhile having people from the school committee here.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
We've already got almost that.
I'm not being, I'm being
Understanding
slightly
that-
facetious, but I
understanding
hope
that
you guys
we don't-
know all this.
We don't operate, we're not the operational,
Right.
Mhm.
So,
but someone that has operational knowledge of the system to come.
I think-
come care.
I think
Yeah,
it
and
would be
I think
beneficial
at the right point, I
Yeah,
think at
the
the
right-
proper point, we need to
Hmm.
have Andrew.
Yeah, when we have more of an idea of what we're collecting, what we're.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So going back to that location thing, where, you can say, okay, there was a school child coming off the bus, but then the description where then the person has to pull out that information and say, this is a minor, but the location was probably in the supermarket.
Okay.
It could be,
Well,
but,
I'm trying to define the where
yes.
in reasonable categories. Without getting too specific. So I started with the DI Commission's list here.
Mhm.
And is this a sufficient? I mean, we can think about all of this, but I mean, what is missing here? Public accommodations, this other, which is specified. We're not asking for physically where it happened in town on the sidewalk. But public space would be one that's missing here. Unless I don't see,
I think public spaces will be a good addition to this.
yeah, this is pretty generic and it's.
So
Library.
public accommodation is a term of art, at least under the ADA, the Americans with
Yes.
Disabilities Act, it has a legal definition.
What is the meaning? in
So
this
like a place
context?
of public accommodation, so like movie theater could be one,
Okay.
a restaurant could be one,
Supermarket.
so it's like, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that like is under Title III, for example, of the ADA, and so like, if we use that term,
We need to use a term that people understand.
yeah, so I think it's like,
Or-
if it's a public place, it could be like, so a place of public accommodation could be, could, depending on what definition you're using, could just be this like privately owned thing that is open to the public. And so I think the question is like, is it like something that's like on town property, that's like the town, like in the townhouse, for example? Or is it just something that's open to the public, could be a store, a restaurant, could be movie theater, that kind of thing? Or did it happen in a park, which is the town's park? Presumably, unless we have private parks.
I think there's gotta be space for describing the incident, but for capturing the data, think about this, we're feeding into a data system, which is gonna have these categories, and so what's a convenient summary categories, sort of private buildings or public space? what, how would we,
I mean,
and we can think about all
yeah.
this, but I want to
And
make
you
sure.
could change the things, I'm not saying we should necessarily, we could say school or some other place of educate, like this look like categories of things to me rather than it says where you believe the discrimination occurred, so that seems like the location. I don't, maybe it's not
Yeah.
the area where.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's like, I'm not sure what this is getting at here. Are we asking in this one a location? Or are you asking the category of the type of, like, the where,
Way to card, that's,
so you're asking for location?
yeah, location.
So I think maybe just changing the words a little bit. Right.
Okay, so, I would like to give a homework assignment to some person who will think more about this where. And maybe come to the next meeting with either this list or, because obviously, I mean, this is a good starting point.
Mhm.
And maybe this is where we end up, but give it some more
Yeah.
thought. I think this captures most of it. I think that
And
a building versus a public open space for me,
I do like the other, right?
Well, yeah.
It leaves you the option if you haven't thought of stuff to.
okay. Anybody volunteering to take this one on just to come up with
Yeah.
a draft final list? Okay, since this is the DI commissioners list, you got it. You got it.
We do have, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then we have the quote, the nature of the alleged bias. So I think this captures,
I have a few that I can add to it.
right? Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, immigration status, language, pregnancy and paternal.
What was the last one?
Pregnancy, parental.
Okay.
Which one are you looking
We're looking at the
the
Boston
bottom?
College example.
Oh, Boston
at?
College.
Starts with race, color, religion, sex, nationality.
Oh, that you're talking about basis?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Boston College.
Immigration status, gender, sexual orientation, and you know,
Language.
don't say more about that. That's not captured in national origin or,
It's not, it's, you can be from here and speak a different language.
okay. So. Describe an incident that you check off language.
Yeah, somebody makes fun of me for. If I speak
Speaking a
my
language.
native language
Mhm.
Okay,
and. You know, some kind of insinuation of how that makes me less person than them.
okay. I think this category should be open. But Boston accent or a New York accent.
No, accents could most
Yeah, for
definitely be
sure.
part of it.
No, I agree.
What?
No, about the accent, like that could be easily be a cause for a bias incident
Yeah.
or
right.
the reason for a bias.
Is that captured language / accent?
Yeah, language and accent.
Can we combine that?
I'm fine with that.
Oh, yeah. And you mentioned pregnancies,
Yeah, pregnancy and parental status.
and what?
Parental.
Parental
I
status.
don't know what the right term is, so I don't know, parental.
And immigration status, I
Yep.
think you mentioned, I think that's right.
It's there, yeah.
It's in there?
Yeah,
Where is that?
Yeah,
it is,
immigration's under ethnicity.
ethnicity, immigration, gender.
Oh, I'm.
Are you
the
looking at this
Which one are we looking at? I'm on the wrong.
Boston
Sorry.
College.
Which one are we looking at?
We're looking at Georgetown is what I was looking at.
That's what I was
Boston
looking at.
College.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Boston College is a different one.
Are we
Yes.
looking at Boston College?
Yeah.
Just, I was looking at Georgetown.
Well, they're slightly different, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. We can combine. Immigration status is on the Boston College one.
Okay, which one do you want to start with and add to?
This looked longer, the Georgetown one,
That's it. So you'd want to add to that the language accent.
language and immigration status.
And then the Boston College one, we could add marital status, but yeah, veteran.
Well, we need to deal with,
We could merge.
well, we're trying to merge this, but these are just two examples. sexual orientation, ethnicity, culture, veteran status. Interesting.
Age, oh, do we
Age
have
is on the
age?
page.
Okay.
And you
So
had,
the other
um,
one, not-
Houseless, homeless.
Yeah,
what's the word, what, the word, not homeless.
It's houseless or unhoused.
Houselessness. And then you had, parental status, pregnant, what was
yeah,
the,
pregnancy and parental.
that's the same thing?
Oh, I mean. You would hope at some point the pregnancy leads to parental, but.
But not every parental can be
That is true.
pregnant, yes,
So,
it could be a male parent. We're just digging down the rabbit hole.
No, if we have to keep digging.
We have to,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Okay, I don't mean to be insensitive or ignorant, although this will sound bold. Give me a bias example on pregnancy. Woman's pregnant, short.
I have not been pregnant, so I can only speculate. It's, let's say you get to park in front of the store, it's not that big a deal, whatever.
Is that bias
I
inside?
don't know. But again, if you feel like it was coming from a place where was not.
Make you
positive
feel
intent,
uncomfortable.
I think that's all that's we're asking.
Criteria.
Or you already have children and you're pregnant and someone says, you're pregnant again.
Yes, that one.
Or
There you go.
teenage.
See?
That was a little more obvious, and putting it into a space that's just babies only.
Or teenage. pregnant.
Right.
Experience.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay, let's leave it open. Good.
Yeah, yeah, teen pregnancy.
Right.
yeah.
Okay, it's a long list. But it's still a draft.
The other thing is, we're not gonna capture
We're not gonna.
everything. I mean, the minute we think we've done it,
We're not-
someone will. say
Yeah,
something that we've
we're
not.
not.
That's why having the others.
I kind of worry about that, but, it's okay.
And if we can select multiple ones, that's great. If not, a multiple or intersection will be good. Option to add on there.
Let's make sure we understand everything on veteran culture. Ex-offender status, that's
Mhm.
good. Boston College doesn't have that one. Okay, Georgetown wins. Long list, I think having a long list on this because there's so many different facets, I think it is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
I think this is good. We're opening this up to a whole range of things that make people feel uncomfortable. That other people may view as obviously bias, but I think our definition here, and we haven't kind of really talked about that fully yet. It's about why people report, but that people feel uncomfortable.
Or why they don't report you. Mean,
Why people would report.
or why.
Well, I think they feel like some kind of injustice has been done.
This isn't so what's the bar here? Is it feeling uncomfortable, feeling well, not abused, but what's give me a starting point for when we want to define that.
Well, I mean, from an extreme case, target of an attack, I mean, there's some
Yeah.
very clear ones, right?
But at the lower end of this, what enters into a system? People make fun of other people all the time, and some people take offense at that, and some people don't.
I don't think
Well,
that's up to us to decide. What the.
No, but the categories, I think we are to some extent in the categories, but maybe we're not. Maybe we don't have to answer that.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it a protected status that you feel like you've been, someone has said something because of a quality, I don't know what the right terminology is, but like an intrinsic quality, or you're perceived to have an intrinsic quality. Can I call on, do I have authority to call on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, like,
But language or actions used to harm or demean. We don't define, but
Yeah, we don't.
the individual feels that this was something directed to harm or demean. And that's in the eye of the,
And yeah, harm is very subjective.
but again, that's
Exactly.
not for us to decide as
Yes.
the person that's subjected to it, but
Okay.
a simple definition.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we'll return to this, but just, again, we're sort of defining an incident here. In these three categories, the where, the category, and then the last one, which the example is Boston College here, so I could call this a type, it says nature, but it's really it's not. One is the nature and one is the type of, I call it the type of incident. Opposed to them, just a differentiating from the previous. And here, boy, we could really open this up. Physical assault, verbal, written, vandalism, property damage, discrimination. Online social media. What's missing here? The type of incident, verbal, written.
Inflammatory.
Non-verbal?
I don't know. But, yeah. I can think of non-verbal. Gestures. Um. Is intimidation a type of incident or is that kind of captured? Does it see the verbal or physical?
So, yeah,
This is a difficult category.
the physical assault, doesn't it get into,
Right.
That's a legal
For the line?
definition, right, and so if it's an assault, then there's a definition
Right.
for that. And discrimination also has
Oh.
that too.
I'm more inclined to have this be more just text input instead of bucketing them into these categories.
I would like both. I'm thinking of the data system.
No, I think this does have a space.
Yes, this should have, the space below pre-described, yeah, if it's there.
But there should be maybe an other box then, because if you're gonna like pull numbers off of this thing, then having an other checked would be helpful that way, just
Yeah.
for the data.
Yeah, this is where it's important to describe
Mm.
the incident. Because somebody may not be able to categorize this, but be able to describe it. So I mean,
Right.
somebody would have to put it in a category or several categories.
I mean, there might be something that's sort of aggressively done in some way that is hard to fit into any of these boxes, so you might,
Is it possible to hit two boxes?
well,
Yeah.
that you would hope that, yeah, we would
Okay.
want to do that because it could have multiple things in the incident.
Is there anything in the in answering the question, what's the incident? That we want to capture the information, so we have the where, the nature of the bias and the type of.
What,
incident.
where, when, how?
Well, the what, there's part of the form or the report's gonna be the when, the date.
Yeah.
This is sort of,
So you want to be able to answer all those questions: who, what, where, when, and how. Who is reporting and what are you reporting? Who are you reporting?
I thought it would be who's affected.
Yeah, that who is reporting me and what and who, that one. You what you
Who's
just
affected.
said.
So there's both, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because the reporter is me, but I'm reporting you.
Oh, I was saying, also as a third party, you might witness
Yes.
something, so there's multiple
Yes.
who's.
Who's
yeah, this isn't the entire
Right.
report,
Yeah.
there's, but I'm just thinking of the where. Do we need more specificity in address? I mean, or have we captured the
I
where?
thought we spoke about the where.
Where we are doing, we're going to do more homework. I'm going to do more homework on that. And in terms of areas, what other areas we're missing based on what's on the list.
Cause it's not written like a religion, like it's written as a. Education doesn't tell you what school or.
So that's
Was
the
it-
home, do we need homework on these other categories, or you think we kind of captured?
I'm happy to combine stuff for the Georgetown and Boston College rules.
Why don't you take a look at what's already done here? And come back to-
I'll come up with a universal set, not a
Yeah.
universal, a master set.
My question, do you think we've described when we say what's an incident, have we captured? Here through these. I'm not just saying we need more information.
But we can also look at some of the other towns, and you're looking at Georgetown and BC, right? But there's also, peer towns and cities.
Yeah, there's a lot,
Yeah.
I didn't see much on our SharePoint that had town forms. I didn't miss them.
To put a bunch
I
on.
think there's
Town forms,
Yeah.
the town forms.
They're not all full, but a bunch of town forms, yeah.
Oh, I saw the spreadsheets. I saw, okay.
No, the intake, whatever you call it, the template. form.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll take a look at those as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're missing much here.
Yeah, and I
In fact,
think
this is more than a lot of.
I think having an other does help, right, in case we don't capture everything.
Okay. That's good. I think the next piece I want to tackle, so the report, the intake reporting, which is kind of a combination of how and how do you make it easy and simple, and it's the multifaceted part here, and I think we've talked about some of those. Because that's one of the questions in the work plan here, which is, I think what's an incident report, level of detail, intensity, we kind of hit on who reports and who receives the report, what are the mechanisms of reporting, and the barriers. I think that, so the front end of this about the reporting, not the report, I think we should probably tackle the next meeting, which is kind of topics B, C, and D. Here.
And we'll have information from the second focus group that will help to inform that. We already have a little from
Yep.
the first one.
The idea of having a third focus group with younger people, high school age people, probably high schoolers,
I don't know, high school, middle school,
middle school.
you acting like nothing happens in middle school?
No, a lot happens at Thoreau's. Do you want?
I mean,
You don't want
it
second.
is
You don't want to do a focus group with second graders, though. Although
want-
that'd be interesting. I don't.
But that's
Yeah, I think we
elementary.
need to.
Not elementary
necessarily,
now.
Like, I think we can just
Invite,
invite, I mean, if their parents. Allow them to do that, and like, we'll have to, I'm happy to have one, but I wanna make sure that there's the proper parental consent.
Well, we
and,
haven't
you know,
scheduled
Yeah,
it
that
yet.
happens being,
Let's be
you know.
specific on what's the age. We need to have an age. Kind of.
well, if high school is easier, then maybe that's where
I
you
think-
start.
I think middle school, there's a lot that
Yeah,
happens.
I think
I think
middle
it's
school.
elementary school that you don't do, because they're too young.
I think middle school.
Middle and high school, I think,
Mm-hmm.
should be fair
A
game.
lot of that stuff.
Okay, I got 2 middle school grandkids. I'm wondering in the focus group, what we would ask them about a reporting system.
I think, Paul, they'd give you interesting answers.
Yeah.
Interesting answers, yes.
And no, and again, I.
Useful,
No,
perhaps.
I don't mean to dump it all day. I mean, my daughter's in 6th grade. There's stuff she
Okay,
says, which I'm like, did not think about that. That'd be great.
Okay.
Again, not to say
I'm
that.
exhibiting
you know, but
ageism
only
here, I'm
stuff.
sorry.
Is middle school, what is middle school?
Year six, seven.
Sixth, seventh, and
6, 7, and
so what about if we did that and we just need to figure out the logistics of having kids, minors?
Again, I would think the best way is maybe reaching out to the PTGs and asking them if they can. You know,
So
ask the parents.
why don't you go to the school venues then?
Us going to the schools, I don't know if,
Or will we
We
be
wanna go-
duplicating what they've already done?
no, or even going to the schools and pulling the kids out of class,
No, I mean, like, they're already in school, so you say an after-school program, all of them have some, and you say like, oh, we have a cookie and whatever discussion. With cookies and what?
I don't think
They
you
don't-
can do that without the parents, right?
Oh.
So-
Okay, so I think you can approach
Okay, so
high
then-
schoolers and directly, I think the other ones you have to go through the PTG. And, you can't approach. kids directly.
All I'm saying is, if,
You gotta go through the parents, so.
if somebody is going and asking my kids questions without my
Yeah.
knowledge,
Yeah.
it's not the school. You would have a big issue with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
so-
exactly,
So we don't want that.
so I
Yeah.
think, I mean,
So it's high school.
I think what
Let's play it safe,
I would-
high school.
I would suggest is that we have a place for it, like the library
Yeah,
again.
it's fine.
And then if the parents want to bring their kids, then they sign up. You know, I don't want the responsibility of like dealing with, like, I'm not gonna solicit a
Okay,
kid.
let's get
Right,
to the
right,
next,
exactly.
let's table this discussion, let's, I can, when I think about it and talk to some people how to do this without getting ourselves on the front page of the bridge.
Again, something that might want to get in consider talking through the school administration, through the DEI, be director for the schools. And much like the programs that are being rolled out last week that happened in the schools, the work for the DEI, be director of the school administration, as they would then send that information on through their mechanisms, the PTGs, and as a mechanism to attract interest. And then those that get the information, because it'll be coming from the schools, going through the PTGs. And that's the mechanism of getting the word out. And whoever comes is gonna be coming with their parents because they found out about it through the schools and PTGs.
And they could have it like at the library and they
Yeah,
could come.
yeah, the venue, and the format, the questioning, you've already got that in hand, but the mechanism of getting the word out would come again from a discussion with the DEIB director and the superintendent would come through that. Because they're the people that would operationalize things.
The action item here, let's all think about this some more and then talk about this in the next meeting. I want to talk to a few people about it too. I know that the DI commission, is there a high school advisory group?
We're trying to form one, not yet, yeah, we're
How
trying to.
how are you trying to form that?
So there's going to be like an open, the next,
You have coffee, right?
the next coffee will be at a time after school at the library, whereby if after school, they high school students especially at that hour, 3 o'clock, are done with school, they'll be able to drop in. So it will be advertised. It's being advertised at the high school that please, there's this community coffee happening and
I think we could piggyback off of that and invite people to join focus groups or
in
what?
this is going to be a combined, it's a community coffee for everyone.
Yeah.
But we are also trying to recruit
Okay.
a member of the youth center.
Yeah, I don't want to get in the way of that, so.
Yeah, so I think it'll be, yeah.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Well, that's a good way of going about
Mhm.
it.
It seems like you can have it in like the library, seems like an appropriate place to have it.
Yeah.
And then like maybe doing what Michael's suggesting in terms of getting the word out and also, through the school committee, letting Dr. Hunter know, letting the DEI. Yeah, the director and like having help to get the word out and then putting it in the bridge again. And then the people who show up, you know, then they show up, and I'm just gonna assume that the parents approved it.
Okay.
And I'm
Yeah,
gonna be the
Let's think
lowest
about this the
bidder.
next meeting, talk about it, and we have a forum on
Thursday
Thursday.
night, 5:30 to 7:30.
This Thursday.
Can I ask a
This
question about
Thursday,
that?
yeah.
There's only so many people who can go from our group, is that right?
Paul says if we keep our mouth shut, we can go.
Oh,
You can go, if we don't deliberate.
okay, so can I,
Would love to have it.
No, I
it's on my.
I don't think you have to keep your mouth
I'm gonna
shut.
give it.
No, but we can't talk to each other about business.
Right,
We
but
can't
you-
discuss.
So,
this.
yeah, we can't be there, you know what, Paul's
Yeah,
inside life cycle,
yeah.
beautiful thing.
No, but
Um,
you can be a citizen and have your opinion and give your opinion,
Exactly.
so,
5:30 to 7:30 at the main library, right?
yeah,
Okay,
in that.
So- I'm sorry, on that point, there's a conflict this Thursday
Mhm.
at the school. There, no one is anti-DEI. Carlos White's presenting from 6:30 to 8 p.m. this Thursday.
Yeah, but we talked about that earlier.
Folks
There's-
have signed up, right?
No, just, you're
Yeah.
talking about an event. I'm just, there's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
time conflict.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't, unfortunately, I wasn't aware at the time that I scheduled it, so, that led me to wonder if I should do a third one. But, you know, certainly people could come, since his starts at 6:30 and mine starts at 5:30. Maybe some people could come at least for part of it, if not, and I am open to scheduling a third one for adults. Or we're actually, you know, I don't even need to necessarily limit the ones that I'm doing with adults to adults. I don't really care myself, but,
Did we have you considered doing just a virtual one?
we could do a virtual one. I'd be happy to do that if somebody
Again,
can
if-
do the Zoom and make the link for me, you know.
Sorry.
I don't have a way to do that, but if somebody makes a Zoom, then. yeah.
And I'm just asking because I don't know if that's showing up in a certain place when it's so cold outside.
Yeah, it might
Is a
be harder to do. Yeah, certainly, and there may be other reasons why people, you know, so I'm also open to doing that. You know, just have to work around my work.
Okay, we're
You do
not,
have a lot, you do have your own thing going on.
we're in
Yeah.
committee overtime here.
Yeah. Right.
Next meeting, so school vacation week that's the week of the 16th, right? So
Yeah.
that's now. So we can either do a meeting next week or the last week in February. I'm mindful that,
The last week in February, I might be able to join only on Zoom.
Same with me, I'm traveling that whole week.
Yep.
The last week.
what does next week look like?
Mm. Mm-mm.
Doesn't sound good.
What?
Works for me.
But-
If we're looking at next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do.
Unfortunately, I don't think that will work.
What about next Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday
Yeah.
would be okay.
Tuesday's
Let me-
wide open for me, Wednesday. is probably okay.
Tuesday will not work for me, but if it works for the rest,
What about Wednesday?
Mhm.
mm,
What time
Yeah,
are we
Wednesday won't
talking
work
about?
for me.
Same time, 6:30 to,
Or we're going back to
We
six?
we could move it.
If we could do, I'm not available
Thursday.
Wednesday, but you could go without me. There's no way to do that.
what happened
For
for
me, but
Thursday?
you can go ahead without me.
The 12th?
Or Thursday, if we had it.
We do,
Later after,
7.
6:30 is the soonest I could do it, so, but don't worry about me, like.
I'm sorry,
I
which
could-
day can't you do?
Well, Thursday, I can't do it Monday or Wednesday, it's because I work in Quincy
Yeah,
and there's no
yeah.
way to get back, believe me. It takes forever. And then there's other things. I mean, maybe what I could do for Thursday is I could make it for like 6 o'clock or 6:30 if I appear by video. Otherwise, so I could do that on
And
Thursday.
earlier is worse.
Completely worse. But it shouldn't be about me, so it's whatever the group wants to do.
And what about Friday the 13th?
Oof.
Cause I don't think I can do.
No, Friday is available. But it's also Friday.
Friday we have family weekend. But
No, it's
Right,
the
that's
week
a holiday.
because it's.
That is movie night.
Holiday, their
Yeah, that's
holiday.
Okay, the last week, you can't do the last week in February. You're out.
I can do it, I'm just not physically here, so I can.
Okay, what-
I mean, is it physically and traveling?
But you could.
Potentially, I just don't know. It depends.
so, yeah, on the 26th, we have a DEI meeting, so we can. And then on the 5th.
We're gonna do a doodle poll on this, okay, and
Works.
some free of the week of the 9th or the week of the 23rd, and whether you could do it Zoom or in person, that's fine. Let's not nail that down, hey. You can do doodle polls, right? Magnolia?
I can try, yeah.
She can do everything.
We'll talk about that. So let's, we'll hold
Will
up.
you let us know the
Yes.
results so we don't have to wait till it gets posted?
Yes.
Oh, we can camp out in front until.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Just email her every day. No, it's fine.
While we're here, meetings in March, are there any weeks that are just totally out?
The week of the 16th is not great for me.
The week of the 23rd will be iffy for me.
Iffy?
The 16th and the 23rd is spring break for us, so.
And that end of the week of March 9th is bad, but when that's like. But
I think maybe the doodle poll can list.
yeah.
Okay, we'll do it all. Okay,
You're gonna catching it. That's
Busy
right there.
busy group.
Listen, just says this is important, we're busy, we're still here.
No, it's great. We're all busy. I really appreciate the time, and it's not only time, it's good quality discussions. With that, I think we went through our agenda. I think we did some good stuff tonight. And anybody have any final words? Yes?
Can I add one thing? So I went through, I did a brain dump because I saw this review work plan and since I didn't have any internet, I couldn't share it, but I put it in the shared drive.
What is it?
Just my brain dump of what all we've discussed.
Oh, I love brain dumps. Those are great.
And, you know, bunch of places that I've said, no idea what we're discussing, maybe need clarity on this and stuff, so go through it. Feel free to tear it apart and, you know.
So
maybe focus on
if you could
things.
just send that link out to everybody soon.
The SharePoint.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll-
or
I'll
send,
put it
or you can just send that.
Yeah,
doc-
I mean,
that
I can
document.
add that too.
Thank you. Okay. Meeting adjourned.